Hey, it's TDA and welcome back to Techtonica. In this episode we're going to find out what lies behind this wall and leave this tutorial zone behind us and continue on with the main story. Now I do want to stress that the story I actually think is pretty good, so it's really enjoyable and it really gives you kind of a...
I never got the chance to thank you for getting me out of that facility. I appreciate it. At the time, it seemed like the best thing to do was focus on work and not get caught up in thinking about anything else. I've tried to stay sharp for both of us, but now that we're almost back to the main line, I'll admit it. I was terrified. It'd be good to see some friendly faces. And a few thousand twinkling lights. I'm sure you've got people there too.
What I was about to say is that the story really adds to some purpose in order for why you're building stuff and things like that. And as I mentioned before, you can always just go back to the tutorial area and pick whatever you left behind back up. And you can actually just take out all your facilities. But anyway, let's see what happens now.
I don't understand. A factory the size of a city is supposed to be here. It was right here. I know it was. Where is everybody?
Well, the answer is not here. But look at this beautiful new zone. There's another basically upgraded version of the Lima factory that we had before. This is the Victor one. There's even like a waterfall over there. There's all this water, all these flowers, all this beautiful light. Even though we're underground, it doesn't feel too claustrophobic like some of these games can really get. There's some more stuff that we can scan. All in all, this is really where the game opens up, and it's kind of like, well, you're not on your own. I don't want to say that, but you really get to decide where you go next from here. Now, obviously, what we're going to do is check out this facility over here and see what there is to do. Oh look, it's broken, and we need 500 ingots and 500 copper ingots in order to repair it. So as I said, this game is going to ramp up really quickly, and we're kind of done with the simple stuff now.
This terminal is trying to reach out to 100 facilities that might not exist anymore. If we can repair it, we might be able to decipher where those facilities are located. Our people are out there, just like we were. I wouldn't ask you to rebuild this sector for the expedition, but I will ask you to do it for them. The faster we get on these signal and repair objectives, the better our chances of finding them will be. Have a look at some of the new stuff on your tech tree. Keep your eyes out for fragments, and let's get to work. Deciphering this first signal by building power floors looks simple enough. I'm sure it won't be that many. I'm pretty sure. Now that you've got a core composer, all you need is a big enough power floor and a few crank generators to power it. After that, you'll be able to dump cores into it and never worry about placing them one at a time again.
Task inbound. Core composer. Supply with research cores via belts and inserters for automatic placement and availability.
Yeah, you done? Okay, so if you're feeling overwhelmed, don't be. But I honestly, when I first got here, I was like, oh, wait, what? That's a lot of things you're just telling me. A lot of technologies and names and things that you're throwing at me, like, what am I supposed to do? But actually, it's not that bad once you get into it. So, we have 4 different quests on the left-hand side. So we are supposed to build some power floors. You might be wondering what it is. I'll explain in a moment. We need 500 ingots of each in order to progress the technology tree. We also need to place power floors in order to decipher stuff. And we need something to do with crank generators and core composers, which supposedly is also going to help us. Now, on top of that, there's actually some stuff all around that we can scan as well, like this one, for example. This now gives us access to a new technology for the mole, which is the machine that we were using to drill those holes. And, well, as you can see, there's some shiny stuff over here as well that we can probably scan. All in all, there's a lot of stuff to do. There's also this big message in the middle of my screen that non-priority tasks will no longer track automatically. So if we go to J, you can see an overview of everything that we can do. And actually, once you build certain buildings, you actually get a small tutorial explaining you what they do, how to use them, and stuff like that. So, game, again, kind of guides you as you play. Now, don't worry, it's just a matter of taking things one step at a time, looking at your technology tree, what you have available, and just building your way from the bottom up. There's a lot of things, as you can see on the map, that cost quite a bit of technology. Some of them not so much, other things a lot. So you probably just want to prioritize the cheaper things first and then going from there. Now, however, good thing to note is you don't want to massively focus on upgrading your technology first before you have your basics in order. So if you haven't done so already, I recommend going to the starting facility where you just came from, removing all those buildings and bringing them back, just so you have your basics up and good to go to basically reconstruct them over here, which is a lot more convenient because you don't want to run all the way back every time. Once you have everything you need, just look at the map and see what resources we have around. So right now we have some iron over here, some copper over here. We actually have some limestone as well. We have more limestone over here, and basically there's a lot more of those resources all around as well. So there's no shortage of stuff. So all we need to do is head to our first iron deposit and get going. And once we get there, we see some new items as well, which we can scan, and these are assembler fragments, which are going to be really useful to automate our production. But before we can do that, we actually need some resources to get going, so let's put some miners and drillers down here. Nothing too fancy for starters, just a couple of drills, smelters, and then everything feeding into a storage unit, so we have a healthy amount of raw resources coming in. Heading over to the copper node, we'll find some more of these light sticks that we can scan, but we also find more assembler fragments.
Task inbound. Assembler. Power with electricity to produce items in multiplied quantities.
In other words, even though you can handcraft anything, assemblers will make 2 of them in the same time it takes your portable tool to make 1. And we can build 1,000 assemblers, but nobody could ever build another you.
So basically the game is telling us what everyone who plays factory games like this should know, but if you're new to the game you probably don't. You don't want to be handcrafting stuff forever because that's not really efficient. Specifically in this game, anything that you automate is actually not only produced at twice the speed as you just said, but you actually get twice the amount of items from crafts as well. So this is really worthwhile doing, but in order for us to be able to do so, we're still going to need those raw resources. So what we actually can do, as you can see, we don't have that much room over here, but if we take out the mole, we can drill a little bit to the side over here and make sure we have some more wall revealed, so we have all the space that we need in order to get our production up and running. Now, one thing I really like about this game is that even if after you place down buildings, you can still rotate them, even if they're already constructed. So this is one way to actually kind of mess up your base if you're not careful about it. This is really convenient. You don't have to constantly remove and replace items if you accidentally put it down the wrong way. Just quality of life. Anyway, a nice little layout like this for copper production as well, with 3 of these drills and 3 smelters will give us all the copper we need. And of course we're going to need a lot more than this, but for now this will do. We're also going to need some limestone actually, so once again I'm just going to cut this specific source out a little bit and get access to some more building space. Now again, for the limestone, 3 of these drilling machines is going to be plenty. There's not actually something I need to smelt these into just yet, so they're just going to go, all these limestones are going to go into this box over here, so I can easily collect it out of there. In order to get some proper production going, we're going to need several things. So first of all, we are going to need, where is it? Synthesis, I think. Yeah, we are going to need that assembler that we just unlocked in order to, well, avoid having to handcraft everything and actually make our crafting a bit more efficient as well. We also need bio bricks, which is a lot more efficient type of fuel. It's just so that we don't have to keep collecting plants all over the place, or at least we can minimize doing so. We're also going to need the crank generator, which is our first type of power production which isn't plant-based. And we're going to need basic construction because that actually allows us to build more of those power floors that we just got quite a few from the stash already. And it also allows us to build stairs so we can make things look a little bit more pretty and we can actually connect different platforms together. Now in order to do all of this, you might need to craft some more of these purple cubes. And, well, just place them down next to the station for now. Placing these down manually will feel like a bit of a chore, but don't worry, we're going to fix that problem very soon. Okay, so time has come to get a little bit more serious about our production, and in order to do so we're going to need power floors, and I think it makes sense to build our initial setup for the factory somewhere in between where we have all our resources. So I'm going to build towards the center of this this water, have the water flowing underneath just to keep it pretty, but start from over here. So let's build a power floor platform, something like this. And this is the basis of our initial production. Now, in order to actually have our power floor do anything, we're going to need power. And that's where the crank generator comes in. The crank generator is this little device over here that is basically going to power everything for us. Now, I'm a little thinking for a moment where I actually want to put that. Maybe a little bit to the side, actually, something like this, so it's nice and tidy out of the way. And then let's place it down again. Now the crank generator is a really nice.
Inbound. Crank generator. Activate with manual or automated rotation to produce electricity.
Well, as the system just said, basically it's manually activated. All you need to do is click, and then for 5 minutes it will provide power to the platform. Now obviously we don't want to do this forever either, but it's free power and it's infinite power as well, as long as we keep, well, pulling the crank. Now it's important to note that one of these crank generators provides 150 kilowatts of power, and we're going to use that power towards building us some assemblers. And the assemblers use 50 kilowatts each, so basically one crank generator is enough to power 3 of these things. So let's build 3 of them. As a small side note, in this game not only does the game automatically remove things like grass if you build on top of it, it also gives you the resources in return, and you can cut down pretty much everything that sticks through your foundations, unlike, for example, in Satisfactory, where sometimes you have annoying things popping through and it kind of messes your neatly built factories. Now what I want to do with these assemblers is kind of make a very early simplified mall. Now, the way we're going to do that, or at least I want to do that, is place these down pretty close together, like so. And then I'm going to place a belt over here in the back, which is going to run in this direction, like so. It's very, very easy. And then put a box at the end with some inserters. Into the box, of course. Of course, we also want to have inserters going out of these assemblers. That's the word I was looking for, like so. And then we can put those assemblers to work. So the first one is actually going to make those bio bricks. This is a more efficient fuel, and in order to make that, we're going to put in some plant fuel as well as limestone, and that combined is going to make well, a more efficient type of fuel, and that is now completely automated production for us. Then the second thing we need is actually copper wire. This is a type of resource that goes into a lot of other things that we can craft, and again, making sure we get twice as much for every copper ingot is going to be very worthwhile. Then finally we have another item that we are going to need in bulk, that is the power floor. And again, making sure we get twice as many bang for our bucks is going to be very useful. Now, as you can see, we actually need the copper wires for that. So all I can do right now is just put in some of these iron ingots and then put in the wires that I already have. And it will start producing. And it's actually going to produce at a pretty high capacity. As you can see, it already made 18 of these. And as soon as we get some wire out of here, then we can also start collecting those and put them back in. Now, I don't want to fully automate this production for the simple reason that, as you could already tell, this production is really, really fast, and I don't need thousands upon thousands of these power floors. I will need that eventually, but I also need these wires for other things as well, so I just need to kind of spread what I am building. Now, the second reason that you don't want to overdo the initial production is, as you can see, the belt backs up quite quickly. An easy way to get around that particular problem is just to extend the belt a little bit further around the particular storage unit, or just make more storage units. But you can also just do it a little bit more creatively, like I'm doing over here. And no, I don't want to have it go in that way. So then just add some more sorters, and that basically triples the amount of inputs the storage can handle. Now, of course, this is still going to be pretty slow, and you could even take advantage of this side as well if that's what we want to do. But for now, I'm pretty happy with just this production and this storage. Now, the problem with automating the fuel production in particular is that it's actually going to go pretty fast. As you can see, it's just 25 plant matter and 50 limestone per recipe. So this actually ticks up out quite quickly. And we can fix that problem by putting in some storage units like this. Then putting down some more sorters. And then this one, the back one, I want to have the limestone because this has 2 inserters connected to it. So this will replenish the limestone whenever it runs out. And then this is going to have the plant matter. Now this is going to be pretty slow, so far from optimized, but it will be continuing on even when I'm doing other stuff, as long as, of course, I make sure the crank is activated. I'm actually going to build another one of these cranks. And that second crank operator means that we can build another assembler over here. And this is basically just going to produce whatever we need. So one of the prime candidates is the mechanical components. You need them for pretty much everything. They're just made from ingots. But making sure we can just craft them automatically without having to handcraft them is definitely going to be very convenient. And remember, you get twice as much from this recipe compared to when you're doing it manually. So it's a lot of resources saved as well. Now, actually just looking at this, what we can do is make this look a little bit more pretty, which is always a good thing. And connect this up and kind of create a circle so we have these resources looping indefinitely. And just making sure we have as many of these sorters that are putting them into what is basically our first little mall over here. Now, we're not quite done yet, because thanks to this little mall over here, we now have access to a lot of power floors, which were created really cheaply. And that means we are ready to expand. And there is one more thing that I definitely want in this mini mall over here. But in order to build that, I'm going to need a lot more space, and I do mean a lot more space, because I want to build the core composer that Sparks was talking about earlier. And that thing is huge, as you can see. There's a reason it's huge, and it's a very good reason actually, but that means we are going to place it something like this. And actually there's going to be another assembler attached to that as well. So let's build that one, say maybe over here, like so. I can't actually build it in such a way that it is actually connected directly to the building over here. So we're going to need some belts in order to fix that. I'm actually also going to need to build some inserters and set this to produce the purple research cores. Now, of course, again, because we are making these in a machine, we actually get twice the benefits. And look, it needs copper, wire, and mechanical components, the things we are now also producing in our little mini-mall. Now, remember that ugly stack of science that we had over here? We can actually now completely remove that and put that in this box over here, along with some materials for this one, in order to make sure we're crafting even more. And then as soon as it goes in, look, it is automatically placing and stacking this science. And this will continue to go on. This is going to be a very high stack, because as you can see, it's just porting in. It automatically makes this science available. And well, this is just a convenient way of stacking up your science. Now, the awesome thing I think about how science is done in this game is that you actually get a visual presentation of your progress. I mean, this giant stack of science, if you remember where we came from, it is going to look not only very nice, because these basically blobs kind of look kind of cool, but it's also, yeah, a good measure for how far you've gotten. Now, this mini-mall is starting to look pretty decent. And by the way, if you're wondering how I get these items to show up on the different machines, so you can actually see what's working, what's stalling, and what's being produced where, you get that by pressing Alt. So if I press Alt again, it disappears, and if I press Alt, You can see the directions of the flows, you can see the recipes, etc, etc. I don't think the game actually tells you can do that. I found it out by accident, so maybe I either missed it or I don't know. But it's definitely a useful thing to know. However, this looks pretty good, but it needs some finishing touches. There we go, look at the pretty lights, isn't this awesome? It actually looks like an actual factory, at least it's starting to look like one. Now, there's definitely a long way to go. It's far from self-sufficient at the moment, it's far from automated, at least completely automated. But we are getting some more efficient recipes going, we don't have to handcraft everything anymore, and we can take it from here. If you're enjoying this series so far, again, don't hesitate to subscribe, like the videos, comment, all the usual YouTuber things, because the reason everyone's asking for that is because it does actually help out the channel. If you want to be truly awesome, you can actually become a member of the channel as well. It's really much appreciated, but don't feel obliged to if you don't have the finance or don't want to. You're more than welcome to stay around as well if you are just watching. If you're still here, you're awesome, and hope to catch you in the next one.